Hi everyone, this is Jim. Got another viewer game for us to look at today. This game was also played by Kalen at the tournament in British Columbia, the 2015 BC Open in the under 1400 section. So his opponent kicks off with e4. Kalen with the black pieces plays e5, knight f3 attacking the pawn, and then f5 counterattacking. So this is known as the Latvian gambit, ignoring the threat to the e-pawn and counterattacking the e-pawn with the f-pawn, and also opening up the king. So it leads to exciting play, sort of like a reversed king's gambit. Now this has been played at top levels, and actually it's an old opening. It was originally called the Greco counter gambit, but some Latvian players in the early 20th century revived it with some new analysis. And it has been played, the Swedish Grandmaster Johnny Hector was probably the most recent Grandmaster to play it at the top levels, but you don't see it too often. Johnny himself said, well, the best thing I can say about this opening is it's not as bad as its reputation. But, for ordinary players, it leads to exciting positions and interesting chess. So we go down the main line for a while. White takes the e-pawn, which wasn't defended. Black brings the queen out, attacking the knight. d4 supporting the knight, and d6 kicking it. And now the main move here is knight to c4. I'll show you a few more moves of the main line just to give you an idea. The knight comes here. Black takes the pawn. White develops another piece. So white's following pretty logical principles and also attacking the e-pawn. And the queen goes here to g6, which not only defends the e-pawn but also takes a look at the g-pawn here, making it difficult for the bishop to develop and slowing down white's castling. And so we have a funny position where white has two pieces developed, black has only the queen developed, but he is eventually going to get his knight out and maybe push d5 with the tempo on this knight. So there are possibilities here for black as well. With best play, white should be a little bit better, but anyway, leads to interesting games. But that's not how this game went. Instead of playing knight to c4, he just retreated his knight back to f3. And now black is just fine here. He gets the pawn back by taking on e4 and threatening the knight. White plays in an interesting fashion here. He develops a piece with the tempo on the queen. So there's no time to take the knight. He's got to move the queen out of the way. And then he pins the pawn with the queen e2. So he's dealt with the threat to the knight, and the bishop is defended by the knight. The pawn is not able to take the knight because the queen's pinned it. But there are a lot of pieces hanging here, so actually this is a good position for a tactics quiz. There is a way for black to win material right in this position. So if you want to pause the video here, see if you can figure out what black can play to take advantage of all these pieces that white has that are nearly hanging, almost hanging. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away. The answer is bishop to e7. If you think about it, this is kind of a double attack. Now there's two pieces on the bishop, so you're threatening to take the bishop, and at the same time you're threatening to take the knight. And but it's not so simple. It's white's turn to move, and he has the move bishop takes e7, which you might think solves everything, because if you take back with the king, then you, first of all, you reintroduce the pin. If you take back with the knight, then the pin is still on, but white has time to save his knight. It's his move, and he just gets to move his knight away, so the material stays even. No, the way to gain material is the move e takes f3, grabbing the knight, and now once again you've got two pieces that are under attack. The queen is under attack and the bishop is under attack, and so the material is even here, but white is going to lose a piece, and so that's how you gain material in that sequence. And also it's important to note the discovered check doesn't work. So if the bishop moves anywhere with a discovered check on the king, the reply is just pawn takes queen. That solves the problem with the discovered check. So the best move here for white is to take the pawn, and then you take the bishop and you're a piece up. So so that would have been a way to get a quick advantage. Not so easy to spot. I would say that's a pretty complicated tactic. So Kalen played the natural move d5, shoring up the center, preventing the d pawn from advancing. And bishop to f4, the bishop repositions, attacking the c pawn. I think right here the move bishop to d6 is called for. That would defend the pawn and develop a piece. And black wants to get these pieces developed. If he can develop the kingside pieces, he can castle quickly and get more pressure on the f-file. So I think that's the more logical way to play. Kalen played knight to c6 here, and now white just grabs a pawn. Even here, it's still a little bit tricky. Let's show the game continuation. Kalen developed bishop e7, unpinning, and then attacking the knight. The knight came into e5 with a double attack, hitting the queen and the knight. So there's pretty much nothing better than taking, and bishop takes. So now white's got this formation here where he's secured his extra pawn, and this bishop is, it's not going to be chased away from there all that quickly. So slight edge to white in this position. Still, this is the kind of position you should be willing to play if you're going to play the Latvian gambit. You've still got ideas of the open f-file. You've got some center influence, and so you have chances here. It's not like white has an overwhelming edge. So let's back up. I just wanted to point out one other variation here. Instead of bishop e7, you could have tried the move bishop to d6, another move that's kind of hard to spot. So it is just offering a trade. The thing is, after the trade, the queen is in a better position. Now if the knight comes into e5, it doesn't have to, of course, the pin is still on, but the point I wanted to make is if the knight comes into e5, you can just trade it off. And so this leaves black in actually a better position. He's grabbed this pawn in the center. He's got better center influence. The development is about equal. And so black has the advantage in this position. So that's the way to play that. Bishop e7, though, a reasonable developing move. And now we did go down the sequence. Knight e5 was played. Takes, takes. And right here, the move queen h6 was played. And so this move, I have suggested some improvements for Kalen in some of those other moves, but the computer is always going to find improvements, So I can't criticize any of those moves. The only move in this game of Kalen's that I will criticize is this move, queen h6, which is a double-edged move. So first of all, Kalen has spotted that white has a weak back rank, and this is something that would be good if this would be a good move if white didn't have a reasonable way to defend. But the thing is that white can defend very easily with the move knight to c3, which he didn't play. So with the move knight c3, now this the queen is looking on squares that don't do much. White has gotten an extra move in development, and black is just falling behind here, and white still has this threat of queen to g5 check. So that wins a pawn over here. So this is just winning for white. So this move bishop to queen to h6, I think that's a move that should be criticized here. It's tempting to play these attacking moves, but really your job is to try and deal with the situation you find yourself in. The best, what you should be looking for here is a developing move that also deals with the threat of queen here check, which is going to check the king and threaten to win the b pawn. So you can preempt that by playing bishop to d7. That's probably the best move in this position. And now you've got, like I said, the kind of position that you should be okay playing if you like to play the Latvian gambit, because you have a slight edge. White has a slight edge, but you still have the open f-file. You're going to develop your knight. You're going to castle kingside and get some pressure and try and go after the f2 pawn. So that's the way I think this should be played. Okay, but let's look at the game. Queen h6 was played, and now, well, the reason I had to make a deal about this pawn is because his opponent responds badly. I mean, I was making a deal about that particular move because his opponent plays a bad move here. Instead of just defending against the threat with knight to c3 and developing a piece, he goes on an adventure here. He goes queen b5 check, and this wins a pawn. Now white has a choice of picking up either pawn, actually. Queen takes d5. And now queen to c1 check. So black is suddenly winning. So the move that I criticized is actually the move that wins the game in a way. Because the queen comes here and white didn't defend it. But you can't always rely on your opponents to give you that kind of edge. So if you want to improve as a chess player, the way to play is to always look for the best move, even taking into account what your opponent might play. Okay, so king goes to e2, that's the only move. And now rook to c8 is the best way to continue the attack. Get another piece in there, don't just keep moving your queen around, but queen takes c2 is played. And now this allows knight d2. The thing is, the knight is pinned in this position, so if you bring the rook to c8, you're immediately threatening to bring the rook here with check. And white still can't develop his pieces. So when you've got an attack going, you want to get more pieces into the attack if you can. So just to give a sample line, rook c8, and say c3 to try and prevent the rook from coming into the c2 square. Then you have this check, which wins the rook in the corner. So what other tries are there? It's not easy to defend this pawn. If the queen drops back here, then you have rook takes c2 check because you have two pieces on it. So rook to c8 is the quickest win, and the best way to play it. It's general rule that when you're engaging in an attack, you should always look for those opportunities to bring up new force with threats, and that's what rook c8 is, making a direct threat on c3 that the opponent can't meet. Okay, so queen takes c2 was played, and now if white had found the move knight d2, he might have been able to play on. But he didn't find that. He moved his king, and now it's all winning. And this is a good move. Let me point out the good as well. You're developing a new piece and bringing it into the attack. Bishop to f4 was used to block. Then there's this exchange which brings the king forward. Always fine to bring the king out into the center of the board. And now queen takes f2 check. Chasing the king further forward, the king goes to e5. Queen to f5 check, defended by the bishop, and driving the king to d6. Now the queen drops back to f6 check. King goes to c5, and can you find the final move here? Okay, queen to b6 check was played, and his opponent resigned. Tired of having his king chased around. The game might finish king c4. Now the rook comes to c8, and queen to c5 is the only way to stop immediate checkmate. So anyway, it was not too soon for white to resign. So in this position, after queen b6, white resigned. So a nice game and a nice finish. And like I said, I think all those moves were pretty good. I always have suggestions for improvements, and only one move that I criticize. That's when you play an attacking move, you always want to first look to see what your opponent's defenses are, and make sure that he can't defend it, or if he can defend it, that you have good ways to deal with that defense. And otherwise, instead of continuing with the attack, maybe developing some pieces and doing the normal thing would be a better course. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.